The moment my wife removed my oxygen tube, we were both given a second chance. In my previous life, I had fallen completely in love with a scholarship student named Chloe. To marry her, I paid to keep her gravely ill mother alive, gave her jewelry collections worth a fortune, and poured millions into her passion project, a money-losing bar exclusively for women. I never imagined that after a car crash landed me in the hospital, she would be the one to personally pull the plug on my life support. The truth was, Chloe never loved me. She resented me for using my wealth to keep her, preventing her from being with the man she truly loved. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the past, and Chloe was slapping the diamond ring I offered her out of my hand. "Alex, I've already told you I don't like you. Don't think you can use money to insult my dignity," Chloe said, her face filled with an open and honest disgust. "Besides," she continued, "I told you a few days ago that we were over. Stop bothering me." After she finished speaking, she walked over to Leo, took his hand and declared, "The person I like is Leo. I will only ever be his girlfriend. It doesn't matter how expensive your gifts are, I won't accept them." A crowd of students had gathered, whispering among themselves with a mix of curiosity and excitement. It was only then that I fully understood that I had been reborn, sent back to the year Chloe was graduating from university. A few days prior, she had broken up with me. In response, I had spent a small fortune on a pink diamond ring, followed her to campus, and attempted to win her back. In my past life, the sight of that ring had made her so ecstatic that she immediately slipped it on her finger. This time, however, before I could even open the box, she smacked it from my grasp. "So," I responded coldly, "Chloe, you think far too highly of yourself. Who said this ring was for you?" I let out a short, cold laugh and scanned the crowd around us. Just as I expected, Sarah was there, her eyes red and tearful as she watched me. I bent down, retrieved the ring box from the ground, and walked through the onlookers until I was standing beside her. I opened it in front of everyone. "Sarah," I said, "your birthday is coming up. This diamond ring is my gift to you." The pink diamond glittered under the sun, its light both soft and brilliant. The surrounding students gasped in unison. Someone close enough to see the price tag cried out, "Oh my God, that's a 30 million yuan pink diamond ring! That's unbelievable!" Another person moved closer and joked, "If someone gave me a ring like that, I'd marry him on the spot." Another voice added, "Chloe is so ungrateful. With her background, what right does she have to be so proud?" Someone else agreed, "Exactly. She just let a massive opportunity slip through her fingers." A different student pointed out, "Sarah and young Master Alex have been friends since they were children. They're a perfect match. They come from the same world, the same family background." Sarah looked at me with a mixture of shock and overwhelming joy, as if she couldn't believe what was happening. She asked in a soft voice, "Alex, is this really for me?" "Yes," I replied. "It's for you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Tears streamed down Sarah's face. She threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly as she said, "I will." Sarah, the only daughter of the family that owned the shoe corporation, was my childhood friend. She had harbored a secret crush on me since we were young. When she began college, I went to visit her on campus. It was during that visit that I happened to meet Chloe, a financially strapped freshman working part-time in a cafe. She and Sarah were in the same year, but Chloe's family was poor, so she had started working before the semester had even officially begun. When she accidentally spilled coffee on me, she was so frightened that she began to cry. Looking at her faded jeans and worn-out canvas shoes, I felt something shift inside me. She was so different from the privileged young women I had always known. She seemed like a resilient wildflower, fighting to survive in the concrete jungle. I found myself falling for this girl who was so unlike anyone else. When I learned she couldn't afford her tuition, I offered her my bank card and promised to cover all her expenses throughout her college years, but on one condition: she had to be my girlfriend. Chloe stared at the card, biting her lower lip as she hesitated for a long time. In the end, she took it, her expression a mix of reluctance and humiliation. But when she graduated and heard that our classmate Leo was getting married, she got completely drunk. Through her tears, she told me how much she hated me. She was convinced that if it weren't for me, she and Leo would have been together. She accused me of destroying her one chance at true love. Heartbroken, I decided to let her go. But then, her mother's illness took a severe turn for the worse. She needed an urgent kidney transplant. Desperate to save her mother, Chloe came to my bed on her own and promised to marry me. That night, She was passionate and uninhibited, and I fell for her all over again. After we were married, however, Chloe became emotionally distant, even cold. This continued until the day of my car accident. Before my family could reach the hospital, she used her own hands to remove the oxygen tube from my nose. Now that I was reborn, the first thing she did was try to get back together with Leo. Fine. If that was her wish, I would let her have it this time. Seeing Sarah and me embrace, Chloe couldn't conceal the jealousy on her face. Alex, she snapped, we only broke up a few days ago and you're already with someone new? Is that all I ever meant to you? I almost laughed at how absurd she sounded. For 4 years of college, I had spent an uncountable amount of money on her. I had gotten her sick mother admitted to the best private hospital and supplied her with the most expensive imported medicines. Yet, in her eyes, it was all just something she was entitled to. Leo stepped in. Chloe, don't waste your time with him. I have a gift for you too. As he spoke, Leo knelt on one knee and produced a small, cheap-looking jewelry box. Chloe, he said, I thought we were going to miss our chance to be together. I'm so happy you finally looked back and saw me. He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, shimmering with a faint golden color. Chloe picked it up with a joyful expression. Leo gazed at her adoringly. Chloe, this is a ring I polished myself from a 5-cent coin. It took me 6 months. He added, I even engraved your name on the inside to show how much I love you. So, for such a precious gift, do you like it? For a moment the crowd was silent, then chatter erupted like a sudden storm. A ring made from a coin? Are they playing make-believe? One person said. My little brother in middle school used his New Year's money to buy me a solid gold ring for my birthday, another added. Please stop, I'm getting secondhand embarrassment. If this gets out, students from other universities will laugh at us. I need to go look at that pink diamond again to cleanse my eyes. A flicker of shame crossed Chloe's face. Before her rebirth, she might have been touched by such a gesture. After all, Leo had made it with his own hands. Though it was cheap, it was sincere. But in her previous life, Chloe had lived with me in a luxury villa. She ate gourmet food, wore the latest designer collections, and owned jewelry where every piece was worth millions. She was no longer the college girl in faded jeans. She glanced over at me, and seeing that I was enjoying her predicament, she quickly slipped the coin ring onto her finger. Compared to people who just throw money at gifts, she announced with a smile, something handmade truly shows a person's heart. She then helped Leo to his feet, and the two of them walked away hand in hand. The graduation ceremony for the senior class had already happened, and students were moving off campus. Since Leo hadn't found a place to live yet, Chloe went back to the dorm with him to help pack his belongings and then invited him to move into her apartment. Carrying their luggage, they struggled on shared bikes until they finally reached the apartment building. Don't worry, Leo, Chloe said encouragingly. It won't be long before you get that job at Chancorp. Once you do, we'll start saving for our own car. As she spoke, she leaned wearily against the door and typed in the passcode. The electronic lock responded with a cold, mechanical voice. Incorrect password! Chloe froze, then tried twice more with the same result. Chloe, are you sure this is the right building? Leo asked gently. Chloe slammed her hand against the door in frustration. I'm not in the wrong place, she huffed. Alex must have changed the password just to make me come crawling back to him. She pulled out her phone and dialed my number. Alex, she said, is this some kind of game? Do you really think changing the password will make me beg you to take me back? If you don't want me to hate you even more, you'd better open this door, right now. At that moment, I was at a shopping mall with Sarah. When she heard Chloe's voice through the phone, she nervously clutched the corner of my shirt. I smiled and gently took her hand. In my last life, after I died, Sarah had thrown herself onto my body, crying until she fainted multiple times. Compared to Chloe, she was the one who was truly worth my affection. I said into the phone, Chloe, we've already broken up, and if I remember correctly, that apartment belongs to me, doesn't it? Chloe's face instantly fell. But with Leo standing right there, she couldn't unleash her anger. Then at least open the door, she said. I need to get my things. I pretended to be surprised. Oh? I wasn't aware you owned anything in there, she replied. All my clothes and personal belongings are inside. I let out a short laugh. Chloe, Wasn't everything you have bought with my money? How can you call it yours? What's this? Breaking up isn't enough. You still want to take my things? Through gritted teeth, Chloe spat. Fine, Alex. Just you wait. Even if you come begging me to take you back one day, I'll never forgive you. Before she could finish, I hung up. That was a line I should have been saying to her. Leo held Chloe tightly, his voice full of pity. Alex is completely out of line. Who does he think he is? Don't worry. One day I'll make something of myself. Chloe, I still have a little money. Let's go rent a place and get settled for now. Chloe's eyes grew misty, clearly touched. You have an interview in a few days, she said. You need to eat well and rest. Let's stay in a nearby hotel for a couple of nights, and once you get the job, we can rent an apartment close to your new office. Chloe led Leo to a 5-star hotel near the apartment complex. Out of habit, she reached for the hotel's exclusive black card. But after fumbling in her purse for a moment, she remembered. She wasn't married to me in this life yet. Naturally, the card she had grown accustomed to using was not there. Awkwardly, she pulled out a regular bank card with a stiff smile. I'll take a suite, please, something quiet. The front desk attendant replied, Certainly, miss. That will be $3,888 per night. Hearing the price, Leo quickly grabbed Chloe's arm. Chloe, are you crazy? That's enough to rent an apartment for 2 months. But Chloe calmly said, It's fine. There's money on the card. A second later, the receptionist smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, miss, this card has insufficient funds. Chloe was completely stunned. How is that possible? She took the bank card back. It was the supplementary card tied to my account that I had given her during her freshman year. She had used it for almost 4 years and, in her mind, it had become her own. It never crossed her mind that I would cancel it. Her face darkened instantly. Grabbing Leo, she stormed out of the hotel. Chloe, what's wrong? Leo asked cautiously. Pressing her lips together, Chloe said, Leo, how much money do you have? Maybe we should just find a cheaper hotel. Leo hesitated. Hotels are too expensive, and I don't have much left. A few days ago, I found a 1-bedroom apartment through an agent. Why don't we go rent it now? It's much more affordable than a hotel. Chloe reluctantly nodded. All right, we'll make do for now. And so, carrying all their bags, Chloe and Leo moved into the small rental unit. It was barely 50 square meters. Chloe walked in, looked around, and frowned. The entire apartment was smaller than the living room of the place I had provided for her. Leo's uneasy voice broke the silence. This place, it's definitely not what you're used to. We'll just have to manage for a while. Chloe shook her head. Small places are cozy. I actually prefer homes like this. That huge apartment Alex put me in. I never felt comfortable there anyway. Leo's face lit up. Don't worry, I will never treat you like he did. In the future, I promise I'll give you a small, cozy house of your own. Really? Chloe's eyes sparkled, and she threw herself into his arms. A man who respected her choice as if that wasn't love, what was? Feeling her body against his, Leo's ears turned red. In the tiny space, they gazed at each other, and then leaned in for a kiss. Just then, Chloe's phone rang from her bag. Hello, Miss Lou. Your mother's hospital fees are overdue. You need to come and settle the bill today. Also, she only has 3 days' worth of her imported medication left. Please bring more when you come. Chloe froze. In her past life, her mother had already received a kidney transplant, recovered, and been discharged. When she woke up as her 22-year-old self, she had completely forgotten that at this point in time, her mother was still in the hospital, enduring painful treatments. In her last life, money was never an issue for Chloe. She drove the luxury car I bought her, lived in the high-end apartment I paid for, and used my credit card for all her mother's medical expenses. I even sent her useless younger brother to the best private high school in the city. Yet through it all, she acted as though I was forcing her into an unbearable and humiliating situation. Now, Chloe had finally broken free from me, just as she had always wanted, and she had nothing. I was curious to see how she would handle the staggering hospital bills on her own. To celebrate my new life, I went out drinking with friends and got completely drunk. On the way home, I drove my car straight into a utility pole. Sarah, who was with me, couldn't wake me up. Panicked and crying, she called an ambulance, and I was rushed to the hospital. I slept through the night with Sarah staying by my side the entire time. The next morning, as I was preparing to be discharged, I saw Chloe in the hospital lobby. With tears in her eyes, she was pleading with a doctor. "Doctor, please continue treating my mother. I'll pay the bill in a few days, I swear." She clung to the doctor's white coat, her face a mask of sorrow. The doctor shook his head. "It's not that I don't want to help, but the hospital has strict policies. I'm just a doctor. I don't have that authority. You should try contacting friends or family to raise the money quickly." With that, he removed her hand and walked away. Chloe collapsed into a chair, her eyes red with frustration. As Sarah and I walked past, she looked up, her gaze fixing on me with pure bitterness. "Alex," she spat, "I know this is all a scheme to force me to marry you. But it won't work. You followed me here, didn't you? Just waiting for me to beg. The more you act like this, the more I hate you. Stay away from me." She continued her tirade. "Neither I nor my mother need your filthy money. I refuse to live that humiliating life again. And even if you marry that woman beside you, don't think for a second I'll get jealous and come back to you. Get that idea out of your head." Sarah was about to defend me, but I gently stopped her. I said to Chloe, "Thank you for your blessing. The Alex and Shu families have been planning this marriage alliance for a long time. So I hope you won't interfere with our happiness again." With that, I took Sarah's hand and led her away. "Alex," Sarah bit her lip and asked hesitantly, "will you really marry me?" I raised my hand and gently pinched her cheek, smiling. "Of course. And to put your mind at ease, I'll have my parents visit your family in the next few days to formally discuss our engagement. How does that sound?" Sarah blushed and nodded. "Okay," she said softly. In our last life, after we graduated, Sarah confessed her feelings for me, but I rejected her. Heartbroken, she left the country. This time, I was going to give her the perfect wedding she deserved. With no other options, Chloe was forced to sell a pair of earrings I had once given her, getting a low price from a second-hand dealer. The money was just enough to cover another brief period of her mother's medical care. She used the leftover cash to buy some basic things for the small apartment she now shared with Leo and a few changes of clothes for herself. Having grown accustomed to a life of luxury, Chloe couldn't bring herself to buy cheap items, so the 300 yuan from the sale of the earrings quickly dwindled to 100. Finally, she took the remaining money and went to find Jessica, the girlfriend of one of my close friends. In our previous life, after Chloe and I married, I worried she would be bored at home, so I gave her a large sum of money to invest. She partnered with Jessica to open a women-only bar. Many people seeking favors from my family sent their wives and daughters there to spend money and show support. As a result, the bar became incredibly profitable soon after opening. The wealthy women who flocked there constantly flattered Chloe, praising her as a brilliant businesswoman. After hearing it enough, she started to believe it herself that she could succeed even without me. But this time, when she approached Jessica with 100 yuan, hoping to open the same kind of bar, she was scolded and thrown out. "You think you can open a bar with just 100? Jessica said. "Do you even know what the rent is in that area? It's tens of millions a year. I really don't understand what young Master Alex ever saw in you. He spent so much money on you, and not only are you ungrateful, you act like it was some kind of humiliation. You have all this pride, so what are you doing here begging me now?" Chloe stared at Jessica in shock. "Didn't you once say I was your best friend?" she asked. Jessica took a step back, looking equally shocked. "What are you talking about? I'd never say something like that, even if I was out of my mind. You were just a poor country girl. If it wasn't for young Master Alex, I would never have even met someone like you." In her past life, Jessica had indeed said those things to Chloe after they opened the bar together. But in this life, Chloe never married me, and she and Jessica were never close. Still, Chloe didn't give up. She sought out all the wealthy women who had once surrounded her, but this time, not a single one of them paid her any attention. It was only then that Chloe finally understood a harsh truth. She hadn't succeeded because she was capable. She had succeeded only because she was my wife. With her business plan in ruins, Chloe placed all her hopes on Leo. In her previous life, Leo had secured a job at the prestigious Chan Corporation right after graduation, earning nearly 20 yuan a month even as an intern. What Chloe never knew was that I, fearing she might rekindle things with Leo, had arranged that job for him at a friend's company. This time, Leo wasn't so fortunate. When Chloe returned to their small apartment, he was still in his interview suit, standing in the kitchen cooking dinner. "How did it go?" she asked, placing a bottle of red wine on the table. "Did it go well?" Leo gave a bitter smile. "Chan Corporation's standards are too high. I'll try another company tomorrow." "What?" Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief. A moment later, she shouted in anger, "It must be that bastard Alex. He must have done something behind the scenes to try and force me to go back to him. I'm going to confront him right now." Leo quickly pulled her back. "Chloe, don't go. This has nothing to do with Alex." "Why not?" she demanded, her face a mask of confusion. "Are you just scared of him?" Leo sighed. "I looked up Chan Corporation's public hiring records. For the past 3 years, they haven't hired anyone with less than a master's degree." Chloe slumped onto the couch. How is that possible? She couldn't understand. If the company didn't hire bachelor's degree holders, how did Leo get the job in her previous life? "Let's eat first," Leo said, bringing the food to the table. When he saw the red wine, he frowned. "Chloe, I already spent over 100 yuan today on ribs and shrimp. Even if you have some money now, your mom's medical bills are due again next month. You should learn to be more frugal and start saving. Maybe you should find a job to help with our living expenses." Chloe froze, not expecting Leo to resent her. Her eyes turned red as she bit her lip. "I bought this to celebrate your new job at Chan Corporation. That's what I thought was going to happen today. Besides, this wine was only a little over 1,000 yuan. It's nothing compared to what I used to drink." "Chloe," Leo interrupted, "do you honestly think that just because you were with Alex for a few years, you've become a real heiress? Other people might not know your background, but don't you? I thought you broke up with Alex because you wanted to be independent. It turns out you just got used to being kept, and now you think you're some big shot." The next second, a sharp slap echoed in the small room. Chloe had struck Leo across the face. Her hands trembled with rage as she choked out, "Leo, I gave up so much for you, and this is what you say to me?" She turned and stormed off. Leo rushed forward, wrapping his arms around her. "Chloe, I was wrong," he pleaded. "I just want us to work hard together, that's all I meant. Please forgive me this one time, okay?" He was the man she loved. How could she leave him? With tears streaming down her face, Chloe nodded. 1 month later, at the engagement banquet for Sarah and me, I unexpectedly saw Chloe. She was working at the hotel. Since her major was English, her job was to greet foreign guests. Dressed in her work uniform, she looked so different that I almost didn't recognize her. When she had first been reborn, she carried herself with an air of unshakable confidence. Now, she was noticeably thinner. There were dark circles under her eyes that even her makeup couldn't conceal. After assisting a guest, she let out a tired, irritated sigh. Then she looked up and saw me standing there, holding a bouquet of flowers. Chloe immediately straightened her posture. The frown on her face vanished, replaced by a lofty, dismissive smirk. She walked toward me with the graceful confidence of a model on a runway. As she looked up at me, I noticed the fine crow's feet at the corners of her eyes and the way the cheap foundation on her face was caked in dry patches. Chloe smiled and opened her mouth to speak, but before a word came out, a female voice called, "Alex." We both turned. Sarah was standing at the hotel entrance, bathed in the golden sunlight, looking like a fairy. She was wearing a custom-made gown that had been flown in from France, worth 80 million yuan, and crystal heels embedded with 888 diamonds. The confidence on Chloe's face shattered in an instant. Her expression turned to ice as she quickly moved to stand between me and Sarah. "Alex," she said, "I know you're doing all this just to make me jealous. You deliberately chose the hotel where I work for your engagement, didn't you? You wanted me to see Sarah looking like this and regret everything. I admit it, I'm not living as well as I used to. I was too young. I overestimated the power of love. I'm willing to give you a chance to let you pursue me again." I gave a cold laugh, but before I could reply, the hotel manager rushed over and pulled Chloe aside. "What do you think you're doing?" the manager shouted. "This is young Master Alex's engagement party. Do you want to keep your job?" Chloe struggled but couldn't break free from the manager's grip. She watched helplessly as Sarah walked up and took my hand. Through gritted teeth, Chloe finally shouted, "Alex, you win! Even if I could live this life over again, I still can't escape you. I agree to be your girlfriend. We can even get engaged today. Just tell Sarah to take off that gown and give it to me." "Ha ha!" The group of friends standing behind Sarah burst into loud, unrestrained laughter. "So this is the poor student you sponsored, young Master Alex?" one of them said. "Looks like even after all that support, she's still clinging to you." Another chimed in. "She actually wants Sarah to take off her engagement dress and give it to her? How shameless can a person be?" A third added, "She must have lost her mind from fantasizing about marrying into a wealthy family." Someone else scoffed. "Exactly. I bet she doesn't even know the alliance between the Alex and Shu families just secured a multi-billion yuan project. What does she have to compete with Sarah? Her poverty? Does she even have a spare 100 yuan to her name?" The voices piled on, and Chloe's face grew darker with humiliation. I couldn't be bothered to look at her any longer. I took Sarah's hand and started to walk towards the exit. "Wait!" Chloe called out. I turned around. She closed her eyes as if making a monumental decision and finally said, "Alex, I'll be honest with you, I came back from the future. I was reborn. In my previous life, I married you not long after graduating. We were married for 3 years. Even though I sometimes looked down on you, for the most part, we were happy. After we got married, I always regretted not ending up with Leo. That's why, when I came back, I wanted to fix that mistake. But I was wrong. I stopped loving him a long time ago. The person I've always loved has been you." She looked at me desperately. "Alex, I know I'm not as good as Sarah, but no matter how rich she is, you don't love her, do you? From the very beginning, the one you've truly loved has only ever been me." The room erupted in another wave of mocking laughter. After my rebirth, the reason I never sought revenge on Chloe was simple. I wanted her to slowly understand her real place in the world. It's easy to go from poverty to wealth. But to go from wealth back to poverty is a slow, agonizing decay. Without me lifting a finger, this once vibrant flower was already wilting on its own. Sarah clutched my hand tightly, her face red with fury. "Chloe," she snapped, "why are you so annoying, clinging to me like a leech?" But I just smiled calmly and said, "Sarah, getting angry at someone like her isn't worth it. She really thinks she's Cinderella, dreaming that I'd marry her." Then, I looked directly at Chloe. A woman like her, if anything happened to me, she'd probably be the first to rip out my oxygen tube and use my money to support another man. Isn't that right, Chloe? Chloe's eyes widened in sheer terror. She stared at the subtle, knowing smile on my face and said in a trembling voice, "So, you remember too?" I held Sarah's hand and walked toward the elevator, ready to go to the top-floor banquet hall for our engagement ceremony. Just as I turned, I heard an angry shout from behind me. "Chloe! If I hadn't biked all the way here to bring you food, just because you haven't had an appetite, I wouldn't have caught such a damn good show." It was Leo, still wearing a delivery helmet, shouting with rage. Chloe glanced at him, then raised her own voice. "This is a 5-star hotel. Even my staff meals here are better than the food you bring me. I don't need you kissing up to me. If you have so much free time, why don't you do something useful like figure out how to get my brother back in school?" Only then did I realize that the high school entrance exam results must have been released, and Chloe's younger brother had failed to get into a public school. In my previous life, I had personally brought her brother from their rural hometown to the city and enrolled him in the best private high school. After he graduated, I even gave him a house and arranged a job for him. But now, without my support, Chloe's brother likely had no school to attend. Leo was so furious he threw the lunchbox he was holding onto the ground. "Chloe, how can you say that?" he cursed. "I paid 30 yuan for your mom's medical bills just last month. I've done everything I can to take care of you, cooking different things every day. But all you do is complain that my river shrimp aren't as good as Australian lobsters or that my carp isn't as fancy as the seafood you used to eat. You really think you're some rich heiress? You think you deserve that life? You want to climb back into Alex's world? You think he'd actually take you back?" Chloe, always sensitive about her origins, flushed red with shame. "I used to spend tens of thousands on a single meal," she shouted. "My clothes cost hundreds of thousands. My bags were worth millions. Whatever I wanted, people lined up to give me. If it weren't for you, would I have ended up like this? Other people give pink diamonds as gifts, And yours was a coin. And you're not even ashamed of it. Hearing this, Leo clapped his hands and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, Chloe, are you still dreaming? You can't even afford your mom's hospital bills, and you're still living in a fantasy. You really think people don't know you were working part-time in a coffee shop before college even started just to pay for your own food? Sure, you lived the high life with young Master Alex for a few years. But with a family like yours dragging you down, who the hell would actually want to marry you? Let me tell you the truth, I only pursued you because of a bet I made with the guys. And guess what? Today's the last day of that bet. Chloe, we're done. I'm dumping you. A bet? Chloe was frantic, stomping her feet. What bet? Who did you make it with? Even I paused at the elevator doors, intrigued. Could it be that the man she had obsessed over for 2 lifetimes had only ever approached her as a joke? The day you spilled coffee on Alex, Leo chuckled. Someone from our class saw it. Later, we were joking about whether any of us could actually win you over, just to see what it's like to be with a rich guy's girl. They said if I could keep you as my girlfriend for 2 months, every guy in the class would give me 500 yuan. I didn't think I had a shot, but surprisingly, I did it. You bastard! Chloe screamed, lunging at him and scratching at his face with her nails. Leo shoved her away. You only have yourself to blame. I was actually willing to take responsibility for you, if you had just been willing to work hard with me. Who knew you'd be so greedy and arrogant? Right then, Chloe's phone rang. It was her younger brother. Sis, they say the private high school in our county is really good, and it's only 30 yuan a semester. I already registered. Just transfer me the money, okay? Chloe felt a buzzing in her ears. She yelled into the phone. If you didn't get into a public high school, then go get a factory job. Where do you get the nerve to ask for money for a private school? I can't even afford mom's medical bills, and you're whining about this? On the other end, her brother shouted back, Willow, you're the one who promised to pay for me to go to private school. Are you going back on your word now? Exasperated, Chloe hung up. But the phone rang again almost immediately. Ms. Liu, your mother's condition has worsened. We need to proceed with a kidney transplant as soon as possible. Please come to the hospital to discuss the treatment plan with the doctors. After hearing this, Chloe's legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. This time, because they had stopped using the expensive imported medication, her mother's health had deteriorated much earlier than in her previous life. After a long moment, Chloe slowly lifted her head, her face a mask of panic, her eyes brimming with tears. Still on the ground, she crawled towards me on her hands and knees. Alexno, young Master Alex, I'm begging you, please save my mother. Seeing my silence, a familiar, humiliating expression, the same one from our past life, appeared on her face. She slowly sat back on her knees, straightened her back, and bowed her head deeply. I was wrong, she said. I beg you. For the sake of what we once had, please save my mother. If it's already this miserable, I said, then you might as well die and get it over with. Those were the exact words Chloe had whispered in my ear right before she pulled out my oxygen tube. I was simply returning them to her, word for word. Besides, I added, aren't you good at pulling out oxygen tubes? Go back to the hospital and do it again. You already have the practice. Chloe knelt on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, her entire body trembling. I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong, she cried. It was my own insecurity. I knew I wasn't good enough for you, so I kept fantasizing about a love between equals. I didn't know. I really didn't know that Leo only liked me because of a bet. He ruined me in both lives. 2 whole lives. I know you'll never forgive me, but if you save my mother, I'm willing to be your servant, to serve you forever. As she spoke, she crawled forward, trying to grab my leg. Get away! Sarah, who had been standing silently beside me, could take no more. She kicked Chloe hard in the ribs. The nearby security guards, who had been watching the entire spectacle, immediately stepped in and restrained Chloe. Chloe, I said, the fact that I haven't taken revenge on you is the last bit of mercy I can offer. Without me, you couldn't have afforded tuition. Your mother, without my money for her medication, might have died 2 years ago, and your brother would never have had the chance at a good education. This life you're living now, this is the life you were always meant to have. This ending, it's exactly what you deserve. My patience has run out. If you bother me and Sarah again, don't blame me for forgetting our past entirely. Chloe bit her lip, silent. Young Master Alex, one of the guards asked, what should we do with her? Let her go, I said. The moment they released her, Chloe screamed and ran towards Leo. She pulled out a small Swiss Army knife, a gift from a foreign guest earlier that day, and drove it straight into his abdomen. "This is all your fault," she shrieked. "You ruined me! You ruined my whole family! Just die!" She stared at the blood pouring from Leo's stomach and suddenly burst into manic laughter. But when she heard someone in the crowd yell about calling the police, she bolted towards the road outside. "Do it again!" she screamed hysterically. "This time doesn't count. I want to start over. Come on, hit me. I want to be reborn again. Hurry." The next second, there was a sickening thud. Chloe was thrown into the air like a broken doll before crashing heavily onto the pavement. She seemed to have forgotten a critical detail. The last time she was reborn was because I had died. But this time, I was very much alive. There would be no second chance for her. Shaken by what she had witnessed, Sarah teared up. "Alex, Chloe really died. Does it make you sad?" "No," I said. Because of Chloe, I understood more deeply than ever that I had to cherish the people who truly loved me. "Let's go upstairs. Your parents and mine are probably getting impatient." Once we were inside the elevator, Sarah wrapped her arms around me. "Alex," she said, "I love you." I replied, holding her close. "I love you too."